Good afternoon. I want to thank everybody who joins us. My name is Olga Atamanova, and Ukraine Media Center Ukrinform starts this operation today. It's 9 years of the war and almost 1 year of the full-scale invasion of Russian aggressor in our homeland. And now we will be talking about the work of our Air Force. Joining us online is Yuriy, Ignat, the spokesperson of the Air Force Command of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Good afternoon, Mr. Yuriy. Good afternoon. Mr. Yuriy, today is an important day. We're seeing that all the informational platforms of our country report on the president of Joe Biden to Kiev, and the air raid alert is on. So what's the threat as of now, if there is any? Well, you see the map of the air raid alerts. It's all red. Obviously there is a threat for all the territory of the country. It happens when the Kinzhal missile carriers MiG-31K take off the ground, and thus they can threat our security. Well, I did not know if it can be related to the leader of the American people to Ukraine. Those flights are going on a daily basis, so I don't think that the Russian mass media is going to say that this is a signal to Ukraine or America. I think they will say those are the scheduled flights. So the map of air raid alerts is seen to everybody, and we call everybody to take all the security measures in this regard. As to the work of the air defense forces, the dynamic of the massive strikes of our country by the Russians, what can we say? Did such attacks start happening more frequently? What do the occupiers use for them? Well, just like always, they use everything they can. Even now they use the air balloons. We can say it's a primitive method, but it's effective. It flies. It's an aerial target. It should be reacted to. It should be monitored, and all the teams that are monitoring the aerial targets, they should take this information into account, because there might be other targets among those balloons, just like reconnaissance drones, for example. So those who monitor the situation in the airspace, they have extensive experience in this area, and they can identify the character of the threat. There are such characteristics as wind, the speed, the direction of flight, and thus the targets like those are identified, and the decision is respectively being taken how it should be controlled and reacted to, how rational it is. The decision is taken by the military command how to act in this or that situation. As to the missiles, they don't only launch them during daytime, but also during nighttime. It's a non-standard approach. If we remember the first days of the invasion, it's been almost a year, we remember that it was going on during day and night during the first weeks of invasion. So it's nothing new for us. It's only change of their tactics. First, it was the tactics of application of Shahed drones during nighttime, starting from 23 to the 3 in the night. That was the time when they launched Shaheds from the southern direction to attack Ukraine. But for the morning, when they already did the reconnaissance of all the air defense positions, they were correct in their actions to launch the missiles from in the morning. So that was the way they were attacking us from September to December, and in fact January. This is how they attacked the critical infrastructure facilities of Ukraine. Now they strike not only critical infrastructure, I mean those two arrivals in Khmelnytsky. So it changed the standard approach of the attacks of our infrastructure. Now the winter is almost over. We understand that there might be changes to the strategy, because the enemy did not achieve its goal to drive Ukraine into blackout, thanks to the coordinated work of all the air defense forces and everybody who has any air defense measures. We were able to protect our infrastructure, we were able to protect our light. And the state obviously suffered some damage, but the enemy did not achieve the desired result. The war is still going on, and the attacks may continue. However, we know that the Rammstein aid and the further support of all our allies, all the countries which support us, will only reinforce us with the new air defense systems which can damage and destroy ballistic missiles. So apart from the aerodynamic targets, ballistic missiles too. So we expect our guys to come back from training where they train to work on SAMT, for example, to reinforce our air defense capabilities. Well, as to your previous reports, you were saying that those Kinjal missiles, we cannot shut them down. So lately we see that we started shooting them down. Does it mean that we have some reinforcement of our air defense capabilities? Do you mean specifically Kinjal? No. Kinjal can only be shot in Facebook or in the Telegram channel. We don't have capabilities to destroy Kinjal missiles in the flight, and I call everybody not to disseminate unfaithful information, because should we have such capability, I would be the first one to shout out that we can. So such a system as Iskander, there is an Iskander K and Iskander M. For example, Iskander M is a ballistic missile. So imagine it's mounted on the MiG-31 airplane. It goes to the upper layers of atmosphere and it launches the missile from there. It has additional speed, so the missile doesn't have to spend the additional resource to go all the way up the atmosphere. It's being launched from the airplane. It has a pretty high speed, and at this super high speed it strikes the target from the atmosphere, and unfortunately our air defense systems cannot destroy these missiles just yet. You mentioned the training of our warriors on Patriots. So what's going on with that training, and when should we expect them to come back already trained? Well, you see, the armed forces take this very sensitive, the issue of dissemination of information. But we already posted some official photos. The representatives of the mass media, they expect some openness. They ask us if they can make a video or pictures of how our air defense systems shut down the enemy missiles, so including foreign journalists who are accredited in Ukraine. But everybody should understand that it's very sensitive information. The operation of air defense capabilities, they are top secret thing, and no one will ever be let close to them, because such dissemination of information is very dangerous. So yeah, we've seen those pictures. The training is underway. Everything that they could show, they've already shown. The United States did not publish any photos from the training, but they assure in their reports that the training is going on according to the plan, and the training schedule was expedited a little bit in some cases, so the period of training will be shorter. So we expect our guys to come back pretty shortly. As to the anniversary, so to say, there are just a couple of days left until the anniversary of full-scale invasion. So we hear a lot of forecasts as to the jeopardization of the situation. So what's your opinion? Is it intimidation or the threat is real? Can the Russians use aviation in mass above Ukraine? Well, we have to separate those things. Russia may intimidate us, but there are reports from the government officials who said that there might be provocations. So on the 23rd of February, For example, 23rd of February is the day of the defender, the sacral date, one of the most sacral dates in Russia. And the next day, 24th of February, is the anniversary of invasion in Ukraine. So during those 2 days, we can expect for a couple of waves of attacks, because obviously the enemy was doing it all the time. The enemy was using dates. They were using the attacks just before the date or on the very date itself. So our task is to comply with the, to react properly to the air raid alert signals. We could track the launch of missiles, the Telegram channels report properly. Everybody expects some standardization, some standard actions. So for example, in case of MiG-31, people may not hide, but it resulted in another strike on Kiev and Zaporizhia. So everybody was saying that there would be no missile strikes because the enemy strikes in the morning usually, but they did it during nighttime. So we should expect for some non-standard actions of the enemy too. And there might be some jeopardization as to the concentration of aviation. It was also discussed in your platform how many material Russia accumulated, I mean the air material. We cannot say it's located all around Ukraine, but specifically at the airfields that they use in their aggression against Ukraine. We already mentioned it, that it's about 40 different airfields in Belarus, in occupied Crimea, occupied territories of Ukraine in the east, and in Russia. Those airfields may receive a certain number of types of aviation, so the enemy keeps the same number of aviation all around those helicopters. In total, it is almost the same number that was there before. I mean both rotary and fixed wing aircraft. We have 229, I think, fixed wing aircraft by the enemy downed. It's around the same number for the rotary wing. The enemy keeps pulling their reserves, but what was destroyed was the key elements of the Russian aviation, like helicopters Kamo-52 in big amounts, aircraft Su-35 and so on. So it's impossible to pull aviation closer to the borders. They need airfields, so they're located at those very positions where they used to be, and the military command has all the information about the threats, about the potential threats that may emerge. Thank you for this information. Sir, we have questions on the floor. Dear colleagues, please go ahead if there are any questions. Well, looks like there are no more questions left. We already answered all the potential questions, so thank you for joining our broadcast. I'm reminding you joining us was Yuriy Ignat, the spokesperson of the Air Force Command of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, and our next briefing is at 13:30. Joining us will be Mykola Lukashuk, the head of Dnipropetrovsk Regional Council, deputy chair of Dnipropetrovsk Regional Defense Council, and we will talk about the situation in Dnipro region. So bear with us, trust in our armed forces, and glory to Ukraine.